the silent cry beneath the stars. The wind howled over the icy cliffs of Veltrax 5, a planet forgotten by most space maps. The stars above were bright, cold, and silent, just like Lyra. She lay on the sharp rocks, her silver skin marked with bruises, her thin body shivering in the dark. Her long white hair was tangled and dusty. Her eyes, once bright like moons, were now dull. She had no home, no name, no future. She had been thrown out. Just hours ago, the high elders of her species stood around her, their long robes dragged across the polished floor of the breeding dome. They stared at her like a broken machine. "Defective," the old one had said. "She cannot bear life. She is of no use to our line. Dispose of her." She begged them to stop. She had tried so hard again and again to give them what they wanted, offspring. But her body had rejected every seed. No child had ever survived. Her people only cared for one thing: fertility. If a female could not produce, she was nothing, so they dragged her to the edge of the city and threw her out like trash. And now here she was, lying under a dead sky, alone, freezing. She wanted to cry, but even her tears were dry. Not far away, Dane Core, a human cargo pilot, cursed under his breath. His small ship, the Lucky Wrench, had suffered an engine failure while passing through the nearby asteroid belt. He had landed on Veltrax 5 to make repairs. It was supposed to be a quick job. But something felt strange. He grabbed his coat, picked up a flashlight, and stepped outside. The air was thin but breathable. The ground crunched under his boots as he moved closer to the strange cliffs. Then he heard it, a faint sound, like a whisper or a cry. He stopped, listened. There it was again. It didn't sound like an animal. It sounded like someone trying not to scream. He followed the sound, his hand near his sidearm just in case. After a few steps, his light landed on something odd. A figure, a woman, no, not human. Lyra opened her eyes weakly. A strange light danced across her skin. Footsteps. And then, a voice. "Hey, are you alive?" the man shouted. She blinked. A human? She had never seen one before, only heard stories. Dangerous, loud, violent. But the voice didn't sound cruel. It sounded concerned. "Don't move, I'm coming closer," he said. She wanted to crawl away. Her people had told her humans would steal her organs, use her as a lab rat. But she had no strength left. If this was her end, so be it. Dane knelt beside her, shocked by what he saw. Her skin was bruised, too thin, and ice was forming on her lips. "Damn, what happened to you?" he whispered. He looked into her glowing eyes and saw fear, deep, quiet fear. "It's okay. I won't hurt you," he said gently. She flinched when he touched her arm but didn't fight. Her body had already given up. Dane carried her back to his ship, careful not to drop her fragile form. Inside, he wrapped her in a thermal blanket, gave her water, and warmed some nutrient broth. She didn't speak, just stared at him, confused and scared. "You can understand me?" he asked. A weak nod. "Good. I'm Dane. I found you out there. You were half dead." She hesitated, then whispered, "Lyra." Her voice was soft, almost broken. "Nice to meet you, Lyra," he said, offering a gentle smile. No one had ever said her name like that before, like it mattered. Hours passed. Lyra sat quietly in the corner of the ship, watching Dane move around the control panel. She still didn't trust him, but he had not tried to touch her. He hadn't asked for anything, no demands, no threats. Just warm food, a soft blanket, a place to rest. She didn't understand. Why? He looked at her again. "You're safe now. I don't care what happened out there. You're not garbage." Her lips trembled. "They said I was broken," she whispered. "Then they're idiots," he replied without thinking. For a moment she stared at him. Then a tear fell from her eye. She hadn't cried in years. It felt strange. Dane turned away, pretending not to see it. But in that small ship, something began to change. A broken alien girl, a lonely human man, and a moment of silent trust beneath the stars. She had no name anymore. Lyra sat in the warm corner of the ship, her arms wrapped around her knees. Her body still ached. Her skin still bore the marks of rejection. But inside Dane's ship, the cold could not reach her anymore. Outside the window, Veltrax 5 was just a dead planet. But inside, the ship, something was alive. Dane moved about the cabin, checking panels, wires, and damage to his engine. He didn't stare at her. He didn't ask questions. And that confused Lyra deeply. On her planet, silence meant danger. Here, silence meant peace. Dane placed a fresh bowl of soup near her. The moment he turned around, she reached out slowly. Carefully, like a starving creature afraid it would be taken away, she sipped. It was salty and strange, but warm. "You don't talk much," Dane said softly, not turning to her. "That's okay. I don't mind quiet." Lyra looked at him. Humans were supposed to be loud, aggressive. That's what the elders had told her. But this one fixed broken things and spoke gently. "Why, are you helping me?" she asked. Her voice was dry, almost painful. Dane shrugged. Because no one else did. That answer made no sense to her. "I was thrown out," she said. "Unfit, useless." "That doesn't mean you deserve to die," he replied, finally turning to face her. "Everyone's got value, even if others don't see it." She didn't understand. Back home, her value was in one thing: to give birth. She had failed. The healers had tried medicines, machines, even rituals, but no life ever stayed in her womb. They called her cursed. Then they took her name, her rights, and left her outside the city wall. Since that moment, she had stopped believing she was real. She looked around the ship, noticing the way Dane had repaired things. The buttons didn't match. Some panels were held by wires and tape. A cracked screen flickered near the wall. "This ship is also broken," she whispered. "Hey!" Dane grinned. "It's not broken, it's just misunderstood." She tilted her head. "Same with you," he said. "You're not useless. You're just in the wrong place." Something shifted in her chest. Was that hope? No. It couldn't be. Not again. Later that night, while Dane slept in the pilot's seat, Lyra walked quietly through the small ship. She touched things gently, like they might disappear. She found a mirror on the wall. Her reflection made her pause. Her hair was messy. Her skin was bruised. Her shoulders were thin and sharp. She didn't look like the glowing breeder shown in her old home. She looked like a ghost. She touched the small scar near her lower back. That scar was never supposed to exist. It was where the scientist had cut her open long ago. They said her insides were different. Her body was not designed correctly. They had tried to fix her with chemicals and machines, but it didn't work. She remembered the cold lab, the burning pain, the voices whispering. A failed project. Dangerous gene patterns. Terminate. She closed her eyes. If Dane knew, would he throw her out too? In the morning, Dane found her sitting in the engine room holding a broken tool. "You ever fix a power converter before?" he asked. She looked up, startled. "No." "Good, you'll learn," he smiled. He handed her a small toolkit and showed her how to twist the wires. Her hands were shaky at first, but they worked quickly. She followed his instructions. She wasn't fast, but she was careful. "Hey," he said after an hour. "Not bad at all." Lyra blinked. No one had ever praised her before. That evening, Dane gave her an old data pad. "Write your name," he said, "any name you want." She stared at the screen. "I don't have a name anymore." "Then make a new one. That's how we do it on Earth. If the old life's gone, we start a new one." She hesitated. Her fingers shook. But then slowly she typed, Lyra Velen, a new name, a new beginning. Dane read it and nodded. Lyra Velen, he repeated. Sounds strong. Lyra looked down at her hands, stained with grease and cuts from helping fix the engine. She didn't feel like a breeder anymore. She felt like a person. That night, as the stars passed silently outside the ship, Lyra lay on a cot and stared at the ceiling. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. She didn't know why this human was so kind. But for the first time in her life, she didn't feel broken. For the first time, she felt real. The hunt begins. Lyra had started smiling again. Not full, not often, but enough for Dane to notice. She worked beside him now, cleaning parts, tightening bolts, learning the strange ways of human tools. Every morning, he'd offer her food, and every night she'd fall asleep to the hum of the ship's engine instead of cold silence. But peace never lasts long in space. One quiet evening, as Dane checked the long-range scanner, his face darkened. Lyra noticed. "What is it?" she asked. He pointed to a red light blinking on the monitor. "That ship, it's not local and it's not drifting." The screen showed a fast, sharp vessel circling nearby space like a hunter sniffing blood. Dane's voice turned. "Cold. That's a tracker-class ship, and it's looking for someone." 3 hours later, the ship was still there, hovering, watching. Dane powered down external lights. "We're staying hidden tonight." Lyra didn't speak, but her hand touched the scar on her back again. It burned. She knew this was no coincidence. They had found her. Back on Veltrax 5, the elders had not just thrown her out. They had covered it up. They didn't want anyone to know that one of their defective women had once carried something unique, a child that didn't match their DNA structure, a child with a strange hybrid pattern. That child had vanished. And so had the records. Only Lyra knew the truth. She hadn't lost the baby in her sleep like they claimed. They had taken it. Dane worked fast, prepping the ship for emergency jump. "We'll burn through fuel, but I'm not waiting for trouble," he said. Lyra touched his arm. "They're here for me." He stopped moving. "You're sure?" She nodded slowly. "They call it the Purge Protocol. Any female with unauthorized genetics is erased." Dane frowned. "So you're not just unwanted, you're dangerous to them." "Yes," she said quietly, "because I survived, and the child might too." Dane looked at her for a long time. "Then we find that child." Lyra's eyes widened. "What?" "You're not running anymore. You want answers. I want to help. So we go get them." She stared at him, confused and scared. "You'd risk your life. For a child that may not even exist?" "You're here, aren't you? That's proof enough for me." Lyra couldn't speak. Her throat tightened. Her chest felt heavy. No one had ever chosen her side before. The next morning, they blasted off, in the opposite direction of the tracker ship, jumping to an old smuggler's route through Delta 6 Nebula. It was full of gas clouds, old mining wrecks, and radio silence, a perfect place to hide. But Dane had another plan. "There's an old contact of mine," he said. "Used to trade with rogue science labs." "Rogue?" she asked. "Places that hide things the government doesn't want seen." Lyra's heart pounded. If her child had survived, if someone had kept it hidden, those places were the only chance. They landed on a dusty moon called Iskara, where machines rusted under purple skies. A tiny outpost sat on a cliff, with a flickering sign, Mechanica's Place. Inside, smoke filled the air. Alien tools hung from the walls, and behind a thick desk sat a large woman with 4 metal arms and goggles over her eyes. "Dane Core," she said without looking up. "I thought you were dead." "Almost," he grinned. "Need information." Mechanica looked at Lyra, then back at Dane. "She's the reason?" "Yeah. She's looking for a child. Born with mixed genes. Years ago." Mechanica paused. "Lots of labs threw out records when the purge began, but not all." She pulled out an old chip drive and slammed it into her reader. "I remember something. Female subject. Rejected by her kind. They extracted a hybrid embryo, said it was unstable. Lyra held her breath. Where did it go? She whispered. Mechanica scanned the file, then she frowned. Transported to a private facility, Planet Terrene 4. Still running? Dane asked. Doubt it. That lab shut down after a breach. All staff disappeared. The place, it's a ghost site now. Lyra stood still, barely breathing. Was her child out there? Alone? Alive? Outside the outpost, a drone hovered silently in the sky. It blinked, recorded, then flew away. The tracker ship had found them again, but this time they wouldn't wait. Back aboard the Lucky Wrench, Dane activated shields and changed course. Terrene 4 it is, he said. And I'll fight, through hell to get you there. Lyra looked at him. She no longer saw a human stranger. She saw someone who believed in her when she didn't believe in herself, someone willing to help her fight back. And in her heart, something woke up. The instinct of a mother. Into the forbidden. So the stars over Terrene 4 didn't shine. They flickered like dying flames through thick clouds of ash. This planet had once been a secret lab world. Now it was abandoned, burnt, haunted. Orbiting it felt like floating above a tomb. Dane's ship, the Lucky Wrench, creaked as it descended through black skies full of static. Below, twisted metal towers, stabbed upward from cracked ground. Some were broken in half, others sparked with dying lights. Nothing moved. This place gives me chills, Dane muttered. Lyra didn't answer. Her fingers were tight around the armrest. Her eyes were fixed ahead, unblinking. This was it, the last place her child was taken. They landed near the ruins of a tall, dome-shaped building. On the side, barely visible under burned paint, were words in a dead alien language. Lyra translated quietly. Genetic Integrity Facility, Terrene Sector. Doesn't sound friendly, Dane said, grabbing his pulse rifle. Lyra stepped down from the ramp. As her boots touched the dead soil, memories came rushing back. Cold labs, red lights, the soft humming of machines, and screams, hers, echoing, from deep inside. I've been here before, she whispered. The building groaned as they entered. Shadows stretched across walls covered in claw marks. Desks were overturned, data screens cracked, dried blood smeared one long glass door. Dane moved ahead slowly, scanning for heat signatures. Nothing. Dead. All of it. But then, Lyra paused. Her heart thudded. Something tugged at her from within. A soft thrum, a faint signal, like her body, remembered this place even if her mind didn't. She turned left, then down a hallway, past broken doors, past collapsed ceilings. She stopped at a sealed vault. A thick handprint panel sat beside it, still glowing faint blue. She stared. Her hand trembled. She pressed it against the panel. A hiss. A click. The door slid open. Inside was a cryo room. Glass. Pods lined the walls, most shattered, some melted. But at the center was one still standing. The pod was dusty, frosted, but untouched. And inside, a child, floating. Alive. Dane's breath caught. No way. After all these years? The child was small, no older than 6 in human years. White hair floated around his head. His skin was a light silver blue, and he had soft glowing patterns on his chest, identical to the ones that once glowed on Lyra when she was younger. Lyra fell to her knees. Ravik, she said. His name came from her lips like a song lost in time. Dane checked the console. Vitals are stable. He's in stasis. Suspended aging. This pod was set to protect him during facility lockdown. They kept him, Lyra whispered. Not because they cared, but to study him. Suddenly, loud static echoed through the chamber. Dane turned. Motion alert. Something's coming. Lyra stood up. Her calm vanished. The syndicate, she said. They followed. Outside, the dark sky lit up with engines. A massive ship, black, spiked, silent, descended like a spider. It bore the seal of the Gene Purity Syndicate, the group that enforced clean bloodlines across dozens of alien worlds. They had come to erase their mistake. Lyra's mistake. Dane rushed to the pod. "Help me disconnect him safely." Lyra joined him, pressing codes, unlocking clamps. The glass slid open with a sharp hiss. The boy stirred, eyes fluttering open. For a moment he looked confused. Then he looked at Lyra, and he smiled. "Mother," he whispered, her heart nearly stopped. Tears fell from her eyes. "I've waited," he said weakly. "I remembered your voice." Dane lifted the child gently into his arms. "We've got to move. Now." They ran through the hallways as heavy footsteps echoed behind them. Syndicate troops in black armor moved in, silent, fast, armed with stun weapons and plasma nets. "They want the child alive," Lyra whispered. "But not us." Dane tossed her a backup weapon. "Then we don't let them take him." They reached the ship just as a net exploded near Dane's leg. He barely dodged, pushing Lyra and the boy up the ramp. He turned and fired. One soldier fell, another screamed. The ship engines roared. Lyra strapped Ravik into the seat, brushing his hair gently. "Stay still. We're taking you home." "Where is home?" he asked. She smiled through tears. "Wherever we're safe. Together." The ship lifted off, lasers hitting the side as they escaped the burning zone. Dane flipped switches, speeding through the atmosphere. They burst into space, leaving Terene 4 in the past behind. Lyra held her son tightly. She had been thrown away, forgotten. But here, in the arms of her child, and the human who believed in her, she had become something greater, a mother, a fighter, a future. The child who waited. The ship floated in deep space, far from patrol roads and syndicate trackers. Inside, all was quiet, except for the soft breathing of a child. Ravik slept wrapped in a thick blanket, tucked beside a softly glowing heater in the Lucky Wrench's med bay. Lyra sat beside him, watching his tiny chest rise and fall, afraid to blink in case he vanished again. She had held him in her womb once. Now she held him in her arms. And he was real. Not a dream, not a memory. Her son, alive. Dane stood outside, the medbay door, leaning against the frame. He'd seen a lot in space, raiders, pirates, lost colonies, but nothing like this. A woman declared useless, a child thought erased, and now both reunited in front of his eyes. He stepped inside quietly. "He's tough," Dane said, nodding toward Ravik. "Stasis that long can damage minds, but he looks aware." Lyra nodded. She didn't speak much. Her voice shook too easily now. "Do you know what they did to him?" she finally asked. Dane sighed. "My guess. Tested him. Observed him. Treated him like an experiment, not a boy." Lyra's hands curled into fists. "They used him to prove I was broken, and when they found out he was strong, they hid him." She looked up, her silver eyes glowing faintly. "I will never let them touch him again." Later, when Ravik woke up again, his gaze searched the ship slowly. His eyes landed on Dane. "You're human," he said, voice calm. Dane raised an eyebrow. "That obvious, huh?" Ravik nodded. "They told me humans were wild, dangerous, but they were scared of you." Dane gave a crooked grin. "We get that a lot." Ravik turned toward Lyra. "Are you scared of him?" Lyra shook her head, brushing the boy's hair from his face. "No. He saved me. He saved you." The boy sat up slightly. "Then he's part of our nest." Lyra blinked. "Nest? That's what I dreamed about when I slept. A nest. Safe. Warm. With you in it." Her throat closed. Dane sat down beside them and handed Ravik a ration bar. "Nest, huh? I've been called worse." Ravik smiled, just a little. Over the next 2 days, the ship drifted in stealth mode, hidden within an asteroid field. Dane ran diagnostics. Lyra repaired oxygen filters. Ravik explored every corner of the ship with wide eyes and quiet wonder. He was fast, observant, gentle. But there were moments when he'd stop and stare at nothing. Moments when his body would shiver. Moments when he'd whisper words in a language even Lyra didn't know. One night, Lyra sat beside Dane in the control room. "He's not like others," she said. "He carries pieces from both worlds, yours and mine, and maybe something else." Dane frowned. "Something else?" Lyra nodded. "They called it a mutation, but I think it's evolution." She looked back toward the medbay. "He waited all these years and still remembered me." Meanwhile, Ravik sat alone with the datapad Dane had given him. He drew pictures on the screen, strange creatures, symbols, even stars. And something else, a tall black tower. Every line burned bright red. He stared at it for a long time, then whispered, "They're still looking for me." The next morning, alarms went off. Dane cursed and rushed to the cockpit. "We've been pinged. Someone scanned our position." "Syndicate?" Lyra asked. "Not yet, but soon." He punched in coordinates. "We need a safe zone. I know one, an Earth-aligned colony, hidden, off-grid, no questions asked." "Will we be safe there?" "For a while." As the ship powered up for warp, Ravik walked in. "They found us," he said softly. Dane froze. "You heard the alarm?" Ravik shook his head. "No, I felt it." He touched his temple. "They left something in me, a tracker, not metal, not tech. It's part of me now." Lyra's heart dropped. "They can find him, anywhere," Dane growled. "Then we take it out." Ravik looked up at him. "Can you fix me? Like you fixed the ship?" Dane crouched and looked him in the eye. "I don't care what they put inside you, kid. You're not broken, you hear me? You're part of this crew now." Ravik smiled again. "Then let's go to your Earth place." The lucky wrench vanished into warp space, leaving the rocks and ruins behind, and inside it, a woman once discarded, a child once forgotten, and a man who fixed what others left behind. Together, they weren't just running. They were building a nest of their own. Bloodline protocol activated. The stars streaked past the windows of the lucky wrench as it exited warp. Ahead lay a hidden colony. Haven Reach, an off-grid world known only to smugglers, exiles, and the forgotten. Dane had been there once, years ago, after losing his brother in a cargo ambush. It wasn't pretty, but it was safe. The people didn't care where you came from, only that you caused no trouble. But trouble was following them fast. Lyra stood near the sleeping chamber, watching Ravik rest. She gently traced a glowing line on his shoulder, a pattern that hadn't been there before. "He's changing," she whispered. Dane came up behind her. "He's growing stronger. His body's adapting fast. Too fast." "It's not natural," she said. "They designed him to evolve. Not just survive, but become something new." "A weapon?" She looked up, her voice steady. "A warning." That night, Ravik screamed in his sleep. Lyra rushed in. Dane was close behind. The boy's skin pulsed with light, soft blue shifting to fiery red. His eyes glowed like stars and his body lifted an inch off the bed. Then, boom, a pulse of energy exploded from his chest. Lights flickered. The ship groaned. Small devices shattered. Then silence. Ravik fell back, breathing fast. I didn't mean to," he said, shaking. "It hurts inside." Dane scanned him with a handheld device. The readings made no sense. His cells were splitting, repairing, then splitting again, evolving in real time. "This isn't just power," Dane muttered. "It's programming." Lyra turned pale. "They activated it. The bloodline protocol," she explained. "When The breeders created us. They embedded hidden codes in our genes, safety locks, triggers. If we ever disobeyed or escaped, the code would awaken and change us, bend us, or destroy us. Dane cursed. So they made him a bomb. No, Lyra said softly. They made him a message, to show that no one can mix bloodlines, that love between species leads to monsters. Dane slammed a hand on the wall. They're wrong. The next morning, they reached Havenreach. A thick forest surrounded the colony. Houses were built into cliffs. Solar towers hummed above green hills. And no syndicate signals were allowed. Havenreach's own tech blocked trackers and scans. They were welcomed by an old friend of Dane's, Mara, a former war medic turned healer. She took one look at Ravik and gasped. He's not just hybrid, she said. He's accelerating. Mara placed Ravik in a stasis bath that soothed his pain. Lyra never left his side. Dane and Mara worked together, running scans, studying the strange energy waves coming from the child. That evening, Mara sat with Lyra under the trees. I've seen alien children suffer before, Mara said. But this one, he's fighting it, not breaking. Lyra nodded, wiping tears. Because he has something the labs never gave him. What's that? Lyra looked toward the medbay window where Dane sat beside her son. A father. But peace was brief. Above the planet, hidden in the shadows, a syndicate warship arrived, cloaked, waiting. Inside, cold-eyed commanders watched Ravik's energy signature from afar. They had tracked the activation. One whispered, "Initiate the extraction protocol. We cannot allow that child to mature." A single assassin pod was launched, silent as a breath. That night, alarms howled across Havenreach. Mara ran out of the house. They breached the dome, one incoming. Dane grabbed his rifle. Stay with Ravik, he shouted to Lyra. She nodded, sealing the medbay doors. Outside, the assassin moved like a shadow. Silver body, no face, no voice, only purpose. It struck, down 2 guards before reaching the main hall. But Dane was waiting. You're not touching that boy, he growled. The assassin launched blades. Dane rolled, fired twice. Metal hissed and cracked, but it kept coming. Until Lyra burst from behind, glowing like fire. She screamed, her body lit with the same energy as Ravik's. Her hands pulsed, her skin burned bright, and a wave of force slammed into the assassin, throwing it across the field. Dane stared. How? She shook with rage. They awakened my code too. Together, they destroyed the machine. Ravik ran outside, barefoot, scared, but when he saw his mother standing, tall, energy crackling from her hands, he smiled. You're like me, he said. No, she replied softly, pulling him close. You're like us. Later, under the stars, Dane looked at them both. Lyra sat with her arm around Ravik. He leaned against her, finally at peace. For now, Dane sat beside them. So, what now? Lyra looked up. We protect him, we train him, and we show the galaxy that what they feared, she finished, is what will save it. A family born by fire smoke curled through the trees of Havenreach. The scorched remains of the syndicate assassin lay in pieces, its steel bones torn apart by the power of a mother who had once been thrown away. But Lyra no longer trembled. She stood tall, her hands still faintly glowing. Beside her, Ravik, her son, her miracle, looked up with quiet pride. Behind them, Dane holstered his weapon and exhaled. He had seen many battles, but this was the first time it felt like a home was truly defended. They didn't run this time. They stayed. The Havenreach colony welcomed them, not because they were perfect, but because they had fought for something, a child, a future, a truth that no lab, no cold machine, no syndicate command could erase. Ravik healed quickly, but he was changing every day. His body glowed less now, but his eyes held a quiet knowledge far beyond his years. He spoke in dreams, drew star maps he'd never seen, new languages no one taught him. Lyra sat with him by the cliffs each morning. "You see things, don't you?" she asked gently. Ravik nodded. "I don't know how I know. It just is." "It's okay," she said. "You're not alone anymore." He looked up. "You still glow sometimes." Lyra smiled. "Because I'm still your mother." Dane rebuilt the lucky wrench, with Ravik helping him carry tools. They fixed broken lights, patched up the shield grid, and even upgraded the old nav system. Sometimes Ravik would fix something before Dane even pointed it out. "You'll be running this ship soon," Dane joked. Ravik tilted his head. "Can I be a pilot?" "Kid, if you can make a fried stabilizer work with a spoon and hope, you can fly anything." Ravik laughed, really laughed. Dane froze. He hadn't heard that sound before, and he realized that laugh was worth more than any reward, any cargo, any war medal. But peace has a cost. Lyra stood before the village council of Havenreach. They warned her. "The syndicate won't stop," one elder said. "They'll come in force next time." "Then let them," Lyra answered. "You don't understand. Ravik's energy could be used to power weapons or end wars." "He's a child," Lyra growled. "Not a weapon, not a prophecy, not a symbol. He is my son." That night, Lyra sat beside Dane on the ship ramp. Stars shimmered above, fireflies danced in the grass. "They'll come again," she said. "You should leave, before they mark you as part of us." Dane looked at her. "I didn't stay because it was safe, Lyra." She didn't speak. "I stayed because I saw a boy who needed a father, and a woman who deserved a home." He turned toward her, voice softer now. "And because I've never belonged anywhere. Until now." Lyra leaned into him. "Then we build it, together." 2 weeks later, the warning came, a single word, scrambled through an old satellite beacon. "Fleet inbound." The villagers panicked, but Lyra did not. Dane stood beside her. Ravik stood between them, smaller but glowing with calm light. "I'm not scared," Ravik said. "Why?" Dane asked. "Because we're together." They didn't hide this time. They prepared. Dane armed the colony. Lyra trained villagers. Ravik, using his strange knowledge, helped create shields that bent around the trees, technology far beyond what the world had ever seen. The people of Havenreach stood together, and when the syndicate fleet entered the system, they were ready, but something unexpected happened. The ships didn't fire. Instead, they stopped, scanned, then turned back. Inside the fleet, Syndicate Command received one final encrypted message from deep within their own system. "Bloodline. Protocol acknowledged. Subject stable. No action required." No one could explain it, but someone or something had overridden the order. Perhaps the code inside Ravik had become too advanced. Perhaps the child had changed more than just himself. Maybe the future had already shifted. Months passed. Lyra became a healer and teacher. Dane trained young pilots. And Ravik? He grew into a bright, clever, quiet boy with fire in his hands and stars in his eyes. He never called himself a weapon. He never wanted to be a savior. He only wanted to be part of his family. One quiet evening, Ravik asked a question. "Do you think I was born broken?" Lyra held his hand. "No," she said. "You were born different. And that's what saved us." Dane ruffled the boy's hair. "Different made us a family." And that night, as the stars twinkled high above the peaceful trees of Havenreach, a woman once cast aside, a child once hidden, and a man once alone sat under the same sky. No more hiding, no more running, only home, a family born by fire,